Okay, so what's to say about this one? Well, of course, it starts with Bella waking to find she has successfully given birth. And yes, she is thirsty. Bloodthirsty. First, though, Bella finds out Jacob has involuntary imprinted on Renesmee. Still can't pronounce that right, even after seeing the movie. She loses her temper and attacks Jacob, but Edward steps in. On her first hunt, she is unsuccessful because she suddenly smells a human rock climbing nearby. Again, Edward stops her. So Bella is clearly not in control of her powers, which I'll mention in a minute. First, it's about time for Bella's father to come into play. It's time to tell Charlie Swan Bella has died. In other words, lie. I mean, she's not all dead, if I understand correctly. But before they get the chance, Jacob realizes the Cullens must leave if Bella is thought dead. So, Jacob tells him something's changed about Bella that he won't understand. Unbelievably, Jacob transforms into a werewolf right in front of him to prove that something is up. Yes, Charlie now knows werewolves exist, or something like them. Like I said, what he's told about Bella is unclear. I don't think they don't come right out and say she's a vampire. They just say she's different. That was one of my first issues with the movie. Not to say that it was unexpected. Now, playing in the snow with Resume, the ball really gets going with Renesmee, who has quickly grown. Bella and Jacob see a vampire in the distance. Irina then reports to the Volturi, including its leader Arrow, that the Cullens have committed a crime. She thinks Renesmee is immortal. So there it is. And that's how the ball gets rolling on this movie. The Cullens go far and wide to get other vampires who are friends of the Cullens, especially Carlisle, to bear witness that Resume is not immortal. With no plans to fight, two uninvited vampires show up, but they prove an important part of the story, as they change Edward's mind, so they will fight if they must. And so training begins. This is where the powers come into play. We discover that she has a shield, which I thought was interesting because I thought vampires were going to be given only attacks, but Bella has this shield that is able to protect people, and that will come into play in the big battle scene. Suddenly, Bella notices Alice is gone. After Alice is gone for a while, she figures out the clue that Alice has left behind. It turns out to be passports for Jacob and Resume after she meets some guy. Alice also fears the worst, apparently. But there's no need to. Alice comes back on the day of the battle. On the day the Volturi come to discuss the crime, they see Renesmee is no immortal, so they kill Irina. But it's not over. Still wishing to kill Renesmee, a battle erupts. Now the review can really begin. It's amazing how the battle starts with the death of Carlisle. Infuriated, the battle starts. I can't give you too much plot detail here, except people are dying left and right from both sides. I managed to count one werewolf, of 5 excluding Jacob, who is on the run, with Renesmee keeping her away from the battle. It seemed like a 3-to-1 death ratio. Volturi to Cullen, of course. Unfortunately, for the Volturi, their foes start gaining the upper hand. I don't know if I should mention this, but here goes. I'm going to say it anyway. In the end, in a joint attack, the Volturi's leader, Arrow, is decapitated and burned, which is how you kill a vampire. It is Bella who sets him ablaze. So why does the camera switch to his first-person view as she does? Surprise! It was all Alice showing him that if they fought, many would die from both sides, including him. Shocked, he calls off the attack before it ever starts. I love this part of the movie, and it's ultimately what got out of the rut that it was in for a while. A battle that epic with a twist that big? Well, I had the rug pulled right out from under my foot. I couldn't believe it. My whole theater was roaring throughout the battle scene. That never happens, really, but is obviously shown in Vision form, otherwise there would be no action. There was applause, boos, screams of horror, and shouts of joy. Heck, there was laughing. I was laughing. Joining in even. Shock Carlyle would die at the very beginning of the battle, and loving how we all shouted one final victory as Arrow burned and boom, it was a Vision. Then the best roar of all. It went on for 10 seconds. Everyone in the theater was amazed. It was and it was just a taunt that Arrow saw how he'd die if he would fight. We couldn't bear to give that movie the 8 that I was expecting from the beginning, and the 7 that I thought I was going to get in the middle. No, that had to get a 10. I was more surprised. It was a more surprising finish than I've ever received in any movie, book, anything really. And the fact that it was at the end and not in the middle was all the more powerful. Seen it? If not, and you read this spoiler review or you watched this video, shame. Anyway, go see it. Even if you read this, even if you heard this, because the experience is something different. Am I gonna get this on Blu-ray? Duh. I really can't review anymore about that. I'll point out a few things though. The Charlie situation wasn't handled well. The movie is a bit confusing on the situation with Resnitsky, not to mention I can't pronounce her name. And all in all, there were gaps where I wish something better was happening. So, what's to say about this one? I'm just seeing in my other review without spoilers. Might have a little more detail in it. But it doesn't look like it is. I just say basically the same thing. A battle that epic with a twist that big. Yeah. The character situations weren't handled well. This movie was a bit confusing on this situation with Resme, the daughter. But, let's see. Anything else I can say about this? I'm running long, so I'll give myself 10 seconds. I guess all I can say is go see it. I'm amazed.